Stay tuned after the episode to hear our latest edition of And Then What? Lauren, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to keep this pretty quick because this is like in the 2 decades of doing the diaries, this may be the strangest story we've ever told.
Yeah, it's part true crime.
But nobody's going to die. It's going to be okay. There are petty crimes and misdemeanors, though.
Yes, things will get stolen.
And the most famous boulder problem, maybe on the planet, will go missing.
How does a boulder problem even go missing?
Just wait. As things escalate, major media outlets will get involved.
It involves an otherworldly, super athletic group of dirtbags known only as the Children.
That's got horror movie vibes to it for sure.
Stephen King's Children of the Corn.
And the story revolves around a secret plot hatched in a place called the Commune, which all comes to a head beneath a full moon in a secluded stretch of California desert.
And your dog, Bodhi, is actually the character.
Oh, God, Fitz, how the hell I got involved in this story, I will never know.
Actually, we will. We will. We all will find out.
And at the center of it all is an unlikely hero. Well, maybe not a hero, because what's a hero, you know? But at the center of this all is a man, a climber, who would really rather just be climbing.
The detective does not pick the mystery. They're called to it whether they like it or not. Today, we present Portable, a mystery in 3 parts.
These are words I'm not even sure make sense when we say them all together.
Don't worry, Lauren. New information will come to light, man. I'm Fitz Cahal.
And I'm Lauren Delane Miller.
This is the Dirtbag Diaries. Act 1. Have you seen this rock? Lauren, have you spent much time up in Squamish, BC?
Ooh, a little bit. Probably 10 years ago or so at this point. Yeah, I did a little climbing up there when I was a newer climber, but it's been a while.
Squamish is often called the recreation capital of Canada. It's located between Vancouver and Whistler. It has world-class mountain biking, world-class wind sports, kayaking, and it is the hub for Canadian rock climbing. Like it's their epicenter.
Yeah, for visiting climbers, they tend to post up in this small campground in the forest and boulders beneath the Grand Wall. And they'll spend the whole summer alternating, between long days of multi-pitch climbing and working on the fiercely technical boulders in the forest below.
And this mystery begins in these boulders.
There's a couple ways to get into the Grand Wall boulders. The most obvious, though, is kind of walking down the old highway trail where the road used to go. That kind of spits you out to the beginning of the apron boulders, but then there's like a very obvious turnoff into the forest. My name's Ethan Salvo. I'm 23, currently based in Squamish, British Columbia. As of the past couple months, I've been, I guess I'd call myself a professional rock climber, which means I make just enough money to get by. So climbing full time now and trying to figure out ways to kind of make a living through the climbing world. You walk in and you're under like a very big forest of like pine trees, and there's usually like very soft light coming through the woods. The ground is soft and squishy. You eventually just like see the Superfly boulder, and sitting right in front of it on the trail is Portable. Portable very much feels like a part of that space.
Describe Portable for me.
I think about 1 foot tall, roughly.
Okay.
Smooth, gray appearance, roughly 70 pounds in weight, I think. Maybe a little bit less than that. No tattoos, but a lot of white dust all over Portable's upper quarter, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a very unique shape. The base is wider than the top. Very distinct edge on the side that's used as a foothold for mantling Portable with a lot of shoe rubber on it.
Okay.
Outside of that, I think that describes it.
It's like the size of an old school boombox. Not that Ethan might be old enough to really know what that is, but for you and I, portable is like the size of an old school boombox. And it's a strange fixture in the Squamish climbing scene.
There's bouldering, there's sport climbing, there's trad climbing, there's big wall climbing, there's alpine climbing, and then there's portable, which is like its own form of rock climbing, right? It kind of like, distills the ridiculousness of the game that we all do. Climbing is what we make of it, right?
This is Eric Bissell, photographer, videographer, veteran climber.
So portable like takes that concept to the 10th degree, basically, where it says this rock on the ground represents like a version of this game that we do, which is climbing. And I think actually, like, in some ways it's pretty cool in that way because it represents this idea that we as a community interact with the landscape and decide what qualifies as being part of this shared experience.
So I don't get it. How do you climb something that's the size of a boombox?
Right. Well, there is several different ways to interact with portable. There's the portable mantle, where a climber literally sits down next to portable and then uses his toe to slowly stand on top of portable. There's a pinch, where you like squeeze portable and it's 70 pounds of weight off the ground. There are thousands of videos online of climbers figuring out different ways to interact with this small bit of stone. And it's been like this for decades, although it's picked up popularity because of the internet. Like on the climbing app, Kaya, it is one of the most logged, or if not the most logged problem in Squamish. Here's Ethan again.
I have a copy of the original bouldering guidebook written by Peter Michaud that I think came out around 98. And from memory, I'm pretty sure in the photo of the Superfly boulder, the portable boulder is also in that photo. I don't know the origin story behind it. I don't know if anyone knows if there was like a specific person that found the rock in the woods and brought it to that boulder. But I know at least since around the late 90s onward, portable has kind of been this like almost like test of strength. It's kind of just been this like thing that's around that climbers find different things to do with. These days, it's like most common, especially in the summertime, to like walk into the forest and walk by like a group of maybe like anywhere from like 5 to 20 people sitting all around it with like a bunch of phones out, filming each other, try to like do the portable mantle or pick it up.
Portable is famous, or at least famous for a rock, right? It's not like El Cap famous or Mount Rushmore famous, but fringe famous, I think we can say. If you're a climber and you come by portable, you're going to ask for a selfie. You're definitely going to film yourself trying to do a strange feat of strength.
So you have to do it. It's just part of it. And every time you go by, there's somebody trying to do it, somebody trying to pick it up, thinking that they totally can, and then they just can't.
This is Molly. She's a Squamish climber.
It's super distinct. There's like a little edge on one side that a lot of people heel hook. It's just it's a super distinct shape, and if you've seen it before, you know what it looks like.
Her ask and the suggestion of everyone involved, Molly is not this climber's real name.
Wait, why have we changed her name?
Well, like on the whole, the climbing world is a pretty welcoming, thoughtful community. Not perfect, but pretty good. But when that community goes online, things change. And like we said, the story, it's about to get a little weirder, a little stranger. When did you first notice that portable was missing?
So I think from looking back on the internet, it looked like someone had made a comment on Reddit on September 12th that it wasn't there anymore. So I think it went missing the night of September 11th. It's like rough timeline. A couple days after it probably went missing, I walked by and it wasn't there. There were like all these different theories. A bunch of people around town were like, yeah, there's this guy that does the Grand Fondo bike race in Squamish every year. And apparently like he always takes portable with him in a bag on his bike race. And he pound rock on a bike for who knows how long. So there's maybe this thought of like, well, maybe like this dude took it on the bike race and something happened to it, or maybe someone in the community that like isn't doing so great took it for some weird reason, or like maybe it was someone who came to Squamish and thought it would be funny, or maybe it was someone that just like hates climbers and like did this to kind of like get under their skin and annoy them. But as time went on, like more theories kind of started coming up, and then no one really had like any idea.
By mid-October, it became clear that Portable hadn't just been misplaced. Chatter online was building.
Yeah, it's like this strange ritual, right? And through the last 30 years, you think about all the people that likely interacted with Portable. It sits next to what are arguably two of the most popular boulder problems in all of Canada.
One of Ethan's friends mocked up a "Have you seen this person?" poster and put it online, and it started to catch on with the broader climbing community on Reddit, Instagram, and on TikTok.
Yeah, it's a pretty hilarious poster, and we'll post some links to all of this in the show notes.
And people were bummed, or they were a little bit pissed, or they were a lot pissed, or they were laughing. There were a lot of emotions.
But if one thing was clear, it's that everyone loves a good mystery.
Everyone was kind of talking about the fact that this boulder in Squamish went missing, but there were no leads or anything. And after enough time, I was kind of just like, well, I don't know if we're ever going to know what happened. Like, it's so bizarre and there's so many possibilities that to even try to get to the bottom of it just felt like impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was like something I would think of from time to time as to like what actually happened with it.
The rains came, signaling the end of the season in Squamish. The dirtbags left, migrated to sunny climates. It looked like Portable was never coming back. Act 2. Down the rabbit hole and through the dog door.
Ethan calls Squamish home, but if you're a climber, it's pretty miserable in the winter. It rains a lot. So on the climbing circuit, if Squamish would have a sister city, a yin to the yang, right? That would be Bishop, California.
It's where the dirtbags winter. In a mostly trouble-free days of hard climbing, rest days, cold, windy nights. Like Squamish, it also has some of the world's most famous and difficult boulder problems.
For Ethan, it's just part of his annual migration.
Okay, so I'll paint the picture a little bit. I had been in Bishop for just over 2 months, living in my Subaru and bouldering, dirtbagging, climbing as much as I could. Kind of just like very much in my day-to-day routine, keeping it simple. Like it was like, go climbing, eat food, sometimes do your chores, and like hang out with your friends. And like outside of that, like the world didn't really exist.
That's I'm going to interrupt you and just be like, that is freaking awesome. I'm so glad you're carrying the torch for, like, it makes me jealous. Like, it's like not in a bad, I'm not saying that as like in a hateful or like a hater way. I'm just like, yes, it's still happening. People would be like, oh man, are the kids doing what they used to do? And you're like, yes, they are. Yes, they are.
They are. I wouldn't even say I'm doing it to the full extent. Like I live in a house for most of the year. This is just like the easiest way for me to travel, but the scene is very much alive and well.
Eric, who are the children?
The children refers to kind of a loose group of people, mostly in the, let's say, 20 to 26-year-old range that come to Bishop every winter and post up here and overrun our house in the best possible way. We have a very kind of like a parental love for this group that comes through and spends the winter in Bishop. Within that crew would be like Ethan Salvo, Pablo Hama, Sage, Victoria, Maddie, Sean, Roman, Katie, Aiden, Keenan.
Eric has just listed off some of the best boulderers in the world.
they're not children. But specifically Ethan Salvo, Jane and I have kind of like unofficially adopted Ethan as our son. So he refers to us as mom and dad. And he's our Canadian adoptee. He drives me insane sometimes, but I feel like we would live in a better world if there were more Ethans in it. I think Ethan embodies the dirtbag mentality, which is basically you do the other parts of life just enough to be able to sustain living on the road and going climbing all the time, right? He's a total savant in climbing and a super, super smart person, but it's all wrapped in this kind of punk rock image of not giving a fuck and doing exactly what he needs to do. But underneath that is like actually someone who's pretty empathetic and compassionate.
Tangent. When was the last time you watched The Big Lebowski, Lauren? Seriously, I've just got to do this. I've got to do it.
It's been a little while, but yeah, it's so good. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I think Ethan is the dude, right? It's like, if you remember, I mean, like the dude, he's built this really simple life around him. So is Ethan. And if you replace bowling with climbing, a beer belly with six-pack abs, like for Ethan, climbing is just what makes him happy. And the rest, the money, the drama, it just does not matter.
Totally. I totally see this. Though I will say that it's worth noting here that Ethan, he is like a very, very good rock climber.
Truth.
Which
yes.
you don't achieve by smoking weed and drinking White Russians all the time. Maybe just some of the time.
Ethan never like set out to be the person having to deal with portable. He doesn't want to deal with stuff that is getting in the way of him going rock climbing.
Winter and Bishop had been going well for Ethan. He'd posted up at a large pullout right by the Buttermilks where dirtbags squeezed 20 cars into a lot that should probably hold 8 cars by parking each other in, and they worked together to make it all work. Everyone calls it the commune. Ethan sent Lucid Dreaming. It's one of the hardest boulders in America. He's got a couple of weeks left. It's been pretty good.
I get back from Pine Creek one night. We're just sitting around our camp, like hanging out at night. And I got a text from this friend, and she sent me this Reddit post. This Reddit post basically said, portable has been found in Bishop. There's a photo of this rock under the Ironman Traverse, sporting this red and white toque that says Canadian drinking toque. Then right here on the brim, there's a bottle opener sewed into the brim, and it has googly eyes on. And my first thought is, this has to be a fake photo. Like, this is AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. And like, in the months following its disappearance, like every now and then someone would post in the Squamish rock climbing Facebook group anonymously, like a very poorly done AI Photoshop of like portable holding up a bunch of books on a shelf or like being a paperweight or something like that. And so I was just like, well, I haven't been keeping up with what's going on for like 4 months. Like, this is probably fake. Anyways, my friend, she was like, yo, are you still in Bishop? I really think you should go out there and like see if portable's actually there.
Here's Molly again.
Ethan Salvo called me and said, hey, portable's under Ironman. I went back to the square lock, so I was almost there, grabbed a couple people that I knew would care, and we walked over there, and it was just there. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
And I get a FaceTime call from her, and she's holding portable with the toque on and the googly eyes and everything. And it was just one of those things where like we both were just kind of like stunned. And I was trying to explain this to like the dude that interviewed me to the New York Times. He was like, how did you know it was the right rock?
You heard that right. The New York Times. We'll get into that later.
And I'm like, you just know as a climber. Like, you feel a hold or you see it, like, you know exactly what it is and where it is. So like just seeing it through FaceTime, I was kind of like, someone put something in my food. Like, I must be really high right now or something. Like, this can't actually be happening. Like, this is absurd.
I carried it back to the square lot, and everyone did the mantle, tried to do the pinch, couldn't do it. I went to bed, but Salvo came and picked up portable, and just kind of like, I thought it was funny the way that he like posted and was like, I rescued portable. I was like, you didn't carry that rock all the way back. That thing's heavy. But yeah, then it was kind of just like a joke.
At this point too, I was like, of all the Canadians down here right now, like, I think I'm going home the soonest. And so we'll just like get portable in my car, leave it in my car for a couple weeks, and then I'll bring it back home. So I like put portable at the bottom under like a bag of climbing shoes and gear and clothing.
Here's Eric again.
Ethan's kind of like the de facto like sheriff of the Squamish forest. He's young, but people look up to him as being kind of like a caretaker of the forest in Squamish. It felt very logical that Ethan would be the person to shepherd Portable home safely, right? And take Portable back to Squamish to safely reunite it with the forest.
I just want to keep this thing safe, not have anything happen. That would be the end of that part of the story, I guess. I thought it was going to be all fine, but it wasn't.
The climbing internet took notice. Portable had been found. It was in the possession of Ethan. The local paper in Squamish covered the recovery. It was lighting up Reddit boards. The CBC radio, the Canadian equivalent of NPR, interviewed him, and it ran across the country.
I had this like message request from this guy, Adil. He reached out and was like, hey, I'm a writer for the New York Times. Would you be up for interviewing? We really want to run this piece. And at first I was like, this has to be fake. Like, how does the New York Times know about this, for one? And like, B, why do they care? It's been really funny though, because like, everyone's mom and dad reads the New York Times. And so like all of my friends, no matter how much of a climber they are or aren't, if they rock climb, their family has sent them this New York Times thing. And it's just a photo of Portable, or me and Portable, in my like junk show of a Subaru in the desert. That interview was interesting too, because like to explain rock climbing to the masses is already hard. And then to explain this niche, weird climbing story to the masses is like really weird and difficult. I also felt like slightly jaded too. I was like, I feel like there's probably more important journalism that should be going on right now with the state of the world than like having everyone have this lighthearted story about a rock.
As a journalist, I'm here to tell you no. This is what we need to be doing right now. Totally. We need to get to the bottom of this, man. Ethan would finish up his trip to Bishop, take Portable back to Squamish, and return it to its home next to the Superfly boulder. It would be a fun memory that would add to Portable lore.
But there was something missing, a villain. And to the keyboard jockeys of the internet and board climbers around the campfire, it all felt a little too neat.
There were like quite a few people like in person and especially on the internet that were like, you seem like you would have done this to pull like this media stunt. Like it showing up lines up with like you announcing the things you did this season and like all this other athlete stuff. And I'm like, sure, like the timing lines up, but like if you know me well at all, and or like if you know any athlete in the professional climbing scene, I don't think they care for their whole reputation, especially as they're kind of like getting onto the scene to be, this dude saved a rock from the desert and brought it home. It's like, I want like my place in the climbing scene to be like about the climbing that I do and the way I share it and like the way I interact with climbing. Like not like me being a part of this whole like big mystery scheme, you know?
Man, in fairness, I feel like having that cloud over him, being the guy that might have stolen Portable to get attention, seeing comments about that on Reddit, that would 100% get to me.
Yeah, it would totally suck. It would definitely make me want to figure out who had done it.
If something gets in my brain and I don't understand it, I like fixate it to the point that I'll just try and understand like every possible thing about it and figure out what happened and what went on. Once I got it into my possession, that was when I became a little bit more connected to the story. And when my brain started to like go crazy and be like, I just want to like, I don't really care to figure out who did this and like tell the whole climbing world and be like, yeah, we need to hold them accountable, blah, blah, blah. I just am now like, I'm like, I just want to know, like, what is the motive here? Like, what's the story?
So let's talk about suspects.
Well, clearly it's a climber.
Yep.
And clearly they've got plenty of time on their hands.
But beyond that, there were more questions than answers. And Ethan wasn't just curious, he needed to know.
So I started like thinking a lot because it either would have had to been someone that's here all season that's like kept it in their car all year.
Let's say suspect dirtbag.
This could have been anyone from like your tech bro living in the Bay that like went to Squamish for his first trip, and like him and his buddies thought it was going to be funny, and then they like went back to the Bay, and maybe they like planned to bring it somewhere else, but they didn't go on another climbing trip until Martin Luther King long weekend. And then they show up in Bishop.
The tech bro.
Then it could have been someone who's been like traveling on the road all season and like on the circuit and very much in the scene and didn't want to like bring any speculation to themselves and has like kept it hidden until for some reason this long weekend.
The professional.
So Ethan's got some clues to work with. First, Superfly is rated V4. The Ironman Traverse is also V4.
Who do I know that like is smart enough to bring it from the most popular V4 in Squamish to the most popular V4 in Bishop? Like that part is, I'm like, you're definitely someone who's like smart and finds this funny, because if you were to leave it anywhere in Bishop, you would leave it at Ironman. Like that's the equivalent to Superfly.
Yeah. And he's got a timeline to work with. Who besides him was in Squamish on September 11th and also in Bishop on the Martin Luther King Jr. long weekend?
Through my detective work, I nailed down one person that's like a friend of mine and was like, hey, dude, like...
Wait, you confronted them?
Yeah. I've confronted a bunch of people. I'm a straight shooter in situations like this. I'm just like, I just like don't want to like, I want to know. Like if I suspect you, like I'm going to talk to you basically.
Did you like when this first happened, were you like looking at everyone and be like, did that person do it? Did that person do it? Did it make you distrust everyone?
A little bit, yeah. So I had this one friend who was in Squamish for a while at the end of the summer, and September 11th, the day it potentially went missing, I'd done this route on the Chief that I'd been trying all season, and I like text a bunch of friends. I'm like, yo guys, karaoke night at the bar, like let's go for beers and karaoke and like let's all hang out, celebrate. And I knew this friend was leaving town soon, but I didn't know when. He was kind of, season's like coming to an end and dying down. No one really knows when they're going to leave. So we're all like at this bar the night of the 11th. This friend did not show up at the bar. From like I went back in my texts and he's like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm feeling pretty tired tonight. Was gone the next morning and like Irish goodbye to everyone in town. Went back to his like hometown for like 3 or 4 months. Wasn't going on any climbing trips, and then showed up in Bishop like a week before it showed up. I was like, yo, dude, like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, you don't have to admit this to me. I don't expect you to. I'm just like letting you know I'm maybe onto you. This is why I think it was you. If you want, you can tell me and we just keep it between us. At this point too, I had kind of seen like how crazy the internet went over this, and I started getting a bunch of like suspicion towards me for people being like, you just did this as a media ploy and stunt. And I'm like, God, like crazy. People were saying like crazy stuff to me in my messages too. And so I was like, I don't think like bearing the weight of the internet is exactly like an acceptable consequence for this. I think like making some sort of an apology is a lot better fit. So I was like, I'm not going to go online and tell everyone who did this. I don't think you deserve that. So like, I'm just letting you know, I think it's you and this is why. And the conversation just ended by him being like, yeah, I like see how you would think it was me and all. And like, there's a lot of coincidences that line up, but like, I didn't do it. Like, it's funny though, I guess. And then we were like, cool. All right, well, I'll bring this thing home in a couple weeks. That was that.
Did you believe him? Like, was it convincing? Like his response?
He's a pretty genuine guy. I will say he's like a bit of a jokester too. I don't know, to an extent, like I'm trying to uphold this value that I think a lot of climbers uphold too, is that like we should really just take each other for our word. There's no cheating in climbing. It's just about being like honest and having integrity. And so like as much as I may or may not believe him, like I'm going to take his word for what he says and trust him and just leave it there. Unless anyone has actual evidence of him like doing this or the person that did this doing it, it's like, are we really going to waste our time like bickering at each other over this witch hunt for like who took a rock from the forest and brought it to the desert? So yeah, I kind of just like took his word for it. And I would say he's like tied for my number one suspect still.
Wait, who's the other suspect?
Suspect 2, I only have suspicions over because He's in Squamish for like a good chunk of the year, has been in Bishop this season. Like the main reason I started suspecting him for have maybe doing this in the first place, and I won't spoil anything for the listeners, I guess, but like when all this other stuff started happening that involved Lauren, he was just very odd about it.
Wait a second, Lauren. How did you end up getting involved in all of this?
So we needed a house sitter. We needed someone to watch our dog Bodhi when we went out of town for the weekend.
When you and Bud texted me and were like, hey, we're looking for a house sitter, I was like, oh, perfect. Like Ethan was just telling me how absolutely beat down he was. He wanted to get out and go back up to Squamish because he was feeling just like super over it living in his car. And I was like, oh man, this would be such a rad reset for him to like go and get 4 days or whatever in a house and be able to like just be indoors for a couple of days and fully reset.
Had you ever met Ethan?
No.
And were you like remotely aware of Portable and all the drama around it?
Hard no.
I kind of was like, Ethan, like, don't fuck this up.
After the break, Ethan tries to listen to Eric's advice. Stick with us.
If I've said I'm going to meet a friend at a trailhead at 6 a.m., I'm going to do it. I show up and never sleep in. It's truth. It's because I'm accountable, right? Businesses that are trying to do good, they need that too. They need that form of accountability. Since 2023, Oboz Footwear has been a certified B Corp. That means Oboz is among 9,000 brands worldwide and one of the few footwear brands in the US that hold themselves accountable to standards of social and environmental performance, transparency, and accountability. Oboz cares about their impact on the planet and invests in a number of initiatives that aim to restore the natural environment. Since 2007, they've helped plant over 7 million trees. You might even be able to see some of those trees in Oregon where Douglas fir trees are planted to restore areas affected by wildfire. That's rad. Thanks to Oboz for supporting this show, but more importantly, thanks for leading in a global movement to do business differently. To find your next pair of footwear, check out obozfootwear.com/lovehiking. Oboz Footwear. Love hiking. Since 2008, Kuat has made industry-changing products manufactured with the utmost care to ensure quality, style, and longevity. I can attest to this. We've had ours a very long time and put it through the paces. Their new piston ion rack is no exception. It just builds on that reputation. Built tough and ready for adventure, the rack has Kuat's signature style without compromising on function. The rack is purpose-built for today's e-bikes, carrying up to 2 100-pound e-bikes with no frame contact, and an adjustable tire chock system so you can carry bikes with a range of tire sizes. It even comes with a lightweight bike ramp for hassle-free loading. E-bikes are kind of heavy these days. Check out the Piston Ion Rack at kuat.com or a dealer near you. Kuat, because you love your bike. If I've said I'm going to meet a friend at a trailhead at 6 a.m., I'm going to do it. I show up and never sleep in. It's truth. It's because I'm accountable, right? Businesses that are trying to do good, they need that too. They need that form of accountability. Since 2023, Oboz Footwear has been a certified B Corp. That means Oboz is among 9,000 brands worldwide and one of the few footwear brands in the US that hold themselves accountable to standards of social and environmental performance, transparency, and accountability. Oboz cares about their impact on the planet and invests in a number of initiatives that aim to restore the natural environment. Since 2007, they've helped plant over 7 million trees. You might even be able to see some of those trees in Oregon where Douglas fir trees are planted to restore areas affected by wildfire. That's rad. Thanks to Oboz for supporting this show, but more importantly, thanks for leading in a global movement to do business differently. To find your next pair of footwear, check out obozfootwear.com/lovehiking. Oboz Footwear. Love hiking. Since 2008, Kuat has made industry-changing products manufactured with the utmost care to ensure quality, style, and longevity. I can attest to this. We've had ours a very long time and put it through the paces. Their new piston ion rack is no exception. It just builds on that reputation. Built tough and ready for adventure, the rack has Kuat's signature style without compromising on function. The rack is purpose-built for today's e-bikes, carrying up to 2 100-pound e-bikes with no frame contact, and an adjustable tire chock system so you can carry bikes with a range of tire sizes. It even comes with a lightweight bike ramp for hassle-free loading. E-bikes are kind of heavy these days. Check out the Piston Ion Rack at kuat.com or a dealer near you. Kuat, because you love your bike. Walk me through the night of January 30th.
January 30th, there was a party in town.
Someone's 40th birthday. A bunch of friends and I are going to go. Me, Eric Bissell, our other friend, and then like 2 or 3 of my friends. We all like meet at the house for a quick moment before we go to walk over.
You know, I come inside and to get him, and he's like, "Yo, dude, check it out." And he like points into the atrium, and there's Portable like sitting there on the ground in Bud and Lauren's atrium. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Portable. And I like tried to pick it up, of course, because it's Portable. And it's so heavy.
Everyone just parks. We're like, let's walk down, go dance, like have a fun night out. It wasn't like the craziest fun night or anything. So it's like maybe 11 p.m. And I'm like, I'm going to walk back. I go back and I like sit down at my computer to keep working on this video project. And maybe like 2 hours go by or something. And I like walk by the front door and just like in the corner of my eye, like Portable's gone. And I'm like, double take, walk over, and in Portable's place is this note. Okay, here's the note. It says 29 January 2026. Dear Ethan, I appreciate all you've done for me and your intent to safeguard my passage home. But every climber comes to Bishop to find themselves, and I am no different. My journey here is not complete. I am going climbing. Meet me where I was found when the night is brightest. Yours truly, Portable. So, at that point, I kind of started like losing my mind a little bit. And like the only thing I could really tell myself is like one of my friends I was with like a few hours ago probably did this, thought it was going to be funny to like play a prank on me. I'm not going to bother like going back to this party and trying to find Eric or like call everyone else and be like, what the hell's happening?
Are you kind of like starting to freak out? Because, you know, there's like the New York Times article there, there's the CBC like national news report, right? And you're like, I mean, on a level, you're almost a Canadian hero. You've saved Portable. You're going to bring Portable back home. And now Portable's gone. Like, what? Are you like, oh God, this is going poorly?
Yeah, that was definitely like my first reaction to it. If I don't bring this thing home, I'm going to look really bad because A, I took on the responsibility of bringing this thing, did all this media stuff. So I'm going to bring it back. And then I have no explanation for what happened too. Like, I'm going to look like the 23-year-old kid that's so fried. I can't even babysit a rock for 3 weeks without it going missing, you know? It's like, you know, like anyone who's like had an issue with me in the past is like really going to hold that one against me. They're going to be like, hey, like maybe I could like help out with this sort of thing. They're like, I can't trust you, dude. Like you can't even watch a rock without it going, you know? So I just started like spiraling a bit and then kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, I can't like worry about this too much. Like I'm gonna try and like keep it calm. So go to bed. Next day, kind of waiting for something to happen and just like go about with my day. Nothing happens.
But then Ethan realizes something. He has a very important clue.
Meet me where I was found when the night sky is brightest. So I was like, well, I know that's Feb 1st is the next full moon, which is at this point it's Jan 31st. I'm like, tomorrow's the full moon. So they want me to meet them under the boulder at Ironman Traverse when the night sky is the brightest.
So his mind is racing.
It's like Portable. God, I want to go to Pine Creek and like try my project today. And like, I am going to go to Pine Creek and then I'm going to have to like drive all the way back. And then I'm going to like have to go to the Buttermilks. And I got this dog that I want to hang out with and take care of. And like, I have work shit that I want to do. Like, how am I going to, like, you want me to go to the Buttermilk? So I kind of just like got flustered and put everyone I was with that night in a group chat and sent a photo of the note and was like, okay, guys, like, joke is over. Please stop wasting my time. Who has it? And everyone didn't know what I was talking about. And I was like, what?
Lauren, do you mostly use your Ring camera to watch your chickens? I know they're a big part of your life.
Yeah, so I, to be clear, don't have a camera for home security purposes for the most part. What I have is 2 cameras like strategically perched in my backyard so that if we're out of town, we can make sure that the chickens make it into their coop at night. Like they're labeled chicken cams, in my app.
What did your Ring notify you about? And when you saw it, what did you think of it?
It alerts me if there's motion at night. But the point of this is just to see if any chickens are stuck in the vegetable garden at night. They're supposed to go into their coop on their own. But all of a sudden, I'm getting all these notifications and I'm looking in and it's like, oh, someone's in the backyard. Someone else is walking in the backyard. And then all of a sudden, there's this video. It's grainy. It's black and white, right? Night vision camera, not super high quality, kind of far away. But there's 2 people and they're looking around the house and they're standing by this dog door. And then all of a sudden, one of them starts to crawl through the door. But the clip's only 10 seconds long, so it stops there. It didn't look that nefarious. I mean, kind of, but I knew that Ethan was there. I had talked to him since seeing this. So I knew that nothing really bad had happened to the house.
Lauren figured he'd locked himself out or it was like a dare or something.
I was freaking out a little bit because even though I had these ideas, none of those really made sense. And I thought, the pieces just weren't adding up.
Lauren texted Eric.
Eric calls me. It's like, hey, have you talked with Lauren and Bud yet today? There's video of these 2 guys sneaking in the dog door in the backyard into the house and breaking in. And immediately it clicked. I was like, Eric, was this from Friday?
What was the timestamp on the Ring recording?
So it was Friday, January 30th, 10:43 p.m. This is about 15 minutes before Ethan gets home from the party.
I do think it's hilarious that you don't have a Ring camera on your front door, but you got it on the chickens.
Well, because Bishop is a pretty safe place. I think I've taken for granted my home security a little bit clearly here.
It's like that slow burn kind of realization of what's going on here? Is this a real concern or not? Is this a joke or is this weird? You got to realize that these kids broke into a house that they had no idea who the owner was, no connection to the owner. Ethan's car was parked out front, but who knows if Ethan had parked in front of a random person's house and was actually staying in the house next door or something. Shotguns have been drawn on people crawling into houses in Bishop before, right?
I mean, also, I think these people got incredibly lucky, right? I have this 70-pound German Shepherd mix rescue dog with a reputation for being nervous around strangers, really barky when new people come into the house. And, I was not sure that someone could break into the house and make it out unscathed.
Yeah. Were you kind of disappointed with Bodhi?
Dude, I was totally disappointed. Bodhi, you have one job.
It was stressful for me too, because I'm Eric got me this house sitting gig and he's like, I trust you to do a good job with this, Ethan. These are friends of mine, don't do anything dumb. And I'm like, you got it, Eric, well behaved for sure. And then all of a sudden this happens and I'm like, I barely know these people and they're really nice and they seem really stressed out. I need to try and explain this extremely bizarre situation. I was talking to myself about it. I'm like, this sounds insane. I'm going to text Lauren and be like, hi, so I don't actually know who's in that video and this sounds insane, but there's this really famous rock that I brought into your house that I've been babysitting for the past 3 weeks. And while I was at this party, someone broke in through your dog door and took the rock and left a note. And I'm trying to figure out what happened to it with this clue they left me and who did it. I went detective mode, immediately. So, my first suspect, the dude on the right, actually looks somewhat similar to the guy that I suspected took it in the first place. I try and not use AI as much as possible due to like all the negative things with it. But I ran it through some AI software to like increase the resolution of it a little bit to try and get an idea.
So we're like looking at this grainy Blink video, and we've like screenshotted profiles, and we've got the haircut, and like we've got the clothes, and like the boot cut khakis, and Ethan's like outside.
There's like two guys in the video, and I stood in their place and like took a gauge for where I was in the frame compared to like where they were to get an idea of height. And then same thing for like body build. So I was like trying to basically profile them and figure out who it was. They also had like no climbing type apparel on. Like it was like sweatpants and hoodie, like looked like average dudes basically. It's got to be someone Canadian because they put the date before the month when they dated it. Mm-hmm. And it was premeditated because they wrote the note the day before.
Suspect A, he happens to be a graphic designer. He's, got nice handwriting, distinct handwriting. And they've got a sample of his handwriting to which compare against the note.
One of my friends, a part of this group that runs like a small zine that's run out of Waco. Mm-hmm. And they like get all these writing submissions. And so she went into all the writing submissions and found a writing submission from this guy.
So we're like comparing the two notes and like checking the typography, and like some of the letters are lining up, but some aren't.
The E shape is exactly the same, and like these letters look the same.
Could have like faked it pretty easily if he's a typography major, or like graphic designer.
And there was like quite a lot of crossover. So I was like, well, that puts some suspicion on him. And
wait, can I also take one step back? There is currently a zine that's being made where people do submissions handwritten.
Yeah, you should check it out as a writer. It's called The Hut Smut. I think it's very
cool.
eccentric. It's the latest edition just came out.
Ethan's getting kind of pissed.
Beyond just like wasting my time. It like, I felt like it implicates me in like a setting that involves like my source of income and like my work and like my community, and like Squamish is like the town where I live in. So if I didn't come home with this thing, like everyone back home would, kind of look at me weird all the time. And I felt like I was left to do some explaining to Lauren and Bud. And I was like, I need to figure out what the hell happened and why this happened to give them an explanation. So I was just getting really stressed. So I call this guy up. I'm like, yo, I got your note. Like really funny. Like, don't waste my time. Like, just tell me you got it.
Game is up. Like, I know you have portable. Like, we've got you matched on the camera, and we've got your note and the whole thing.
Homie was very sincere, and we chatted for a while on the phone. But I basically like kept saying why I thought it was him, and then he kept giving me reasons why it wasn't him. At this point, I'm like still really stressed and like panicking, freaking out. Eric and I are kind of chatting about this, and we're like, well, like, fuck this. We're just going to go up to the Milks and like go talk to this guy.
God, I really got into the middle of it. So then this is so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Because the whole time this is going on, like throughout the entire thing, you're just like, ugh, like I really hope this is like not going on. Like, why is this having to happen right now? Like there's so much other stuff, more important things to be dealing with than this rock. It's like watching something happening and you're like trying to like avoid getting like wrapped up in it. But the longer it goes on, the more certain you're like, oh God, yeah, like I am wrapped up in this now. We kind of have to deal with this, right?
While I was at Eric's, I started doing more detective work. I found out that your iPhone stores all of your like, basically your like primary locations through a 24-hour period are stored in your iPhone. Basically, if I was like in the Buttermilks and then like at a restaurant in town and then at the house, it would show that I was at all those three places in a 24-hour period and not just like Bishop as an overall. The thing is, though, you can't see location data prior to 24 hours before unless you manually change the date and time on your iPhone to 24 hours after what you're trying to see.
So he's like, I'm going to go to this suspect and I'm going to make him show me his location history on his iPhone.
And so Eric and I drove up there to talk with and he kept explaining. He was like pretty understanding of the whole I said his name.
And we find the dude, and it's like fine, but it's also like kind of awkward, right? Because we're like totally confronting this kid, and, and like he's with all his buddies, and like I'm in like my motorcycle jacket, like like gloves on. Ethan's like, we're gonna put this to rest, like just get out your iPhone.
I just asked him, I was like, look, if you've got nothing to hide, like let me just check your past location data.
Suspect number 1 gets out his phone. We like check it.
He was clean.
And he's been in the milks for the last like 3 days. So we're like, wait, what the fuck?
So suspect 1 is no longer a suspect.
I guess I'm just going to have to come back up to the buttermilks in the dark under the full moon. But I don't want to go alone at this point because there's 2 dudes in this video and I still like have no understanding of the situation. So I called up my dear friend, suspect number 1, after putting him through like wasting his time all day. I was like, hey, man.
Sorry for the accusations, but will you come help me out? Let's solve this crime together.
Exactly. And he was totally down for it.
Ethan, he drives up to the commune to grab no longer suspect A.
Then my friend and I head over to the Ironman Traverse Boulder. And we're like, well, we've got a movie downloaded on Netflix. We're just going to like chill there, drink beer, hang out, wait for something to happen under the full moon. And so we like picked this boulder kind of like high up that you couldn't see from the trail and then sat there without our headlamps on.
They're chatting. Ethan's friend, now a cleared suspect, says,
I didn't think much of it at the time, but when I got off the phone with you, this guy walked up and he was like, oh, are you guys talking about Portable? And I don't know how he suspected that. Maybe he just guessed it. But when he was talking about Portable, he like mentioned that he knew it was missing again and that he could like try and talk to the people that did it.
Ethan snaps into action. He tells his friend, stay here, watch the Ironman Traverse. I'm going to go talk to that guy. So Ethan races back down to the communal camp. He finds the guy and he pulls him aside.
So he immediately fessed up and was like, yeah, man, like not going to lie, I was aware that there was this plan to like take Portable from your car and break into your car somehow and take it. And then this like group of people wanted to leave you notes that would send you on like a goose chase around the buttermilks, solving notes to try and find Portable, but you were never actually going to find it. And in that time while you were running around, they were going to go to Waco and then they were going to take it to Waco tanks and have it be in Waco. And then it was going to go somewhere else after Waco. And then eventually it was going to come back to Squamish. Like it was this coordinated plan between maybe like 6 people.
Did you feel like this was like the moment in the James Bond movie where like the villain reveals like the master, like the master plan?
Yeah. And that's when I was like, yeah, this is not happening. This is not a joke as much as it might be to you guys. Like this just puts a lot of stress and like shit for me to deal with on me. So you're going to call this person right now. You can leave your phone upside down, but I'm going to like talk to them on the phone. They don't have to tell me who they are. They don't have to say anything, but they at the very least do have to find a way to like go and apologize to the homeowners for breaking into the house. And so that's kind of going on.
And then out in the distance, poof, a blast of light in the darkness hits the Ironman boulder.
I'm like, wait, still up there with his floodlight. And we had made a plan that if anyone was to show up, that he would like capture them on video so we know who's behind this. 2 or 3 minutes after I left the boulder and my car drove away, someone walked up to Ironman Traverse and my friend has a video of him running out of the bushes, catching this person on camera. And they're like, I don't know if I've shown you this, Lauren, but I'll have to send you the clip. It's quite funny. But the dude's like frozen in his tracks in front of Iron Man. And he has like a Ziploc bag with the next clue and note left in it that he was trying to like rest on the starting jug of Iron Man and leave for me to get. So had kind of like figured out one of the people involved in this who he claimed was not behind it, but was just the messenger and was just asked to bring this note up there. Like, kind of ridiculous.
Former subject A, he's interrogating the note delivery man, pumping him for details. And Ethan, he's back at camp, laying out his demands to the unknown mastermind. And he is getting angrier and angrier.
I'm like yelling through the phone at these people, and I'm basically like, you're gonna drive out here right now, and you're gonna leave Portable under the Iron Man Traverse boulder, and you can tell me when to go up there. I was like, I just want this dealt with like now, so I don't have to keep wasting another day dealing with this situation.
So I'm just sitting outside in the middle of nowhere on the top of this mountain, listening to Ethan, which at the time we thought was talk to us quite aggressively, but listening back to it now, it actually sounds quite tame. I just hit record and was like, I don't know if it's going to tell them I'm recording. I don't know if they're going to be mad about that, but I don't want to have to try and explain this verbatim when I'm talking to the rest of the people involved.
How did Molly get wrapped up in all this?
So Molly is the friend that Ethan had called to collect Portable when it originally turned up at the Iron Man Traverse. It had been the talk at camp that night. Like, what if Portable's trip could be extended? He could travel to all the great bouldering destinations.
Then it was kind of just like a joke, and then that's how it turned into a thing.
It spun further. Molly devised the notes, they brainstormed clues, and then the goose chase. The day after the party, Molly got a text. It said, "Call me."
And so I called my friend, and he told me that they had Portable. And I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Because we had just wrote this really fun clue. We had spent a bunch of time on it. I said to him, how did you get it? And he said, we went in through the dog door. And I said, you did what? I thought of it from that perspective and was like, oh no, this is going to be so bad. I said, honestly, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be a part of it. We should just give the boulder back. Yeah, not good. Not a good decision.
And now Molly found herself standing on top of a mountain at an abandoned mine where her fellow culprits were celebrating a birthday. She was listening to Ethan lay out his demands. She could hear the hurt and anger. Ethan was a friend, someone she respected. After Ethan finished his piece, he handed the phone back to Molly's friend. Molly explained the situation. They were too far to return tonight.
And as they're talking, it's like getting louder and louder on the phone, I guess. And I start to pick up on the voice. And then I realize it's a girl's voice. And then I realize it's a voice that I recognize. And it's like someone I know. And that her and a whole group of friends were like going off into the White Mountains that night to go and see a mine and go hiking. And then it clicked and he like hung up the phone and I was like, all right, dude, like you don't have to tell me. I'm just going to tell you it's this person. And I know because I just put it together as we were on the phone with them for another minute or two. Like, am I right? He was like, yeah, you're right.
So then Ethan goes back to my house. Various emotions are running through his head, right? Some of these people he considered friends. They'd spent the whole season climbing and hanging out together. But he's also feeling anger over being put through this whole ordeal, of being turned into this punchline in a way that had gone from a simple, practical joke to a more coordinated kind of mean thing.
Like I was really upset with them too because the notes that they left for me at the boulder that night are these, it might be hard to see. I'll send you photos, but they're encrypted messages. Like they wrote code, you know? And they wanted me to waste my time decoding this.
It had all spiraled so far beyond the campground full of dirtbags with time on their hands. Back home, BC Parks was aware of this whole Portable debacle, and they noted that whoever had taken Portable in the first place had technically committed a crime by removing a natural resource and transporting it out of Canada. Conversations were being held with the Squamish Nation on how to best return Portable to the forest, and really, Ethan just wanted this to be over so he could get back to doing his thing. Back at the abandoned mine,
I go back inside and I'm like, you guys won't believe the phone call I just had. So I played it for them, and then we were sitting and everyone was kind of like head in hands, like freaking out. I got a bunch of texts that were like more and more severe from Ethan. The main conclusion that they had come to in our conversations up there was should plead the fifth and we should say nothing at all because we're going to get legally in trouble. And my stance on that was I don't want to take the brunt of this because I didn't do anything illegal. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it. You'll go to jail. I won't go to jail. But But that kind of sucks. And in the end, I said to them, like, you can do whatever you want. I'll talk to Ethan by myself and I won't throw you under the bus. But what you choose to do, whether that's talk to him anonymously, talk to him face to face, or not talk to him at all, will be reflected in my opinion of you. And I don't really want to be friends with people who participate in the problem and then leave me to deal with it by myself. It was a hard 48 hours.
The next morning, Ethan waits.
They showed up as I'm like repacking my car outside, and I'm like, where's the rock? Just like bring it up to my car and let's just like go in and talk. And they're like, we're not gonna do that. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we don't really feel comfortable doing that. And it's like, you don't want to talk? They're like, well, we just know you're like just gonna get really upset with us, and that's like not gonna help anyone in the case. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like gonna get really pissed off. It's called like facing the consequences of your action, like whether you meant to do this or not, like you did it and it led to this, and now you're gonna deal with it, like whether you're my friend or not. I was like, you're not anonymous anymore. There's no more like hiding behind this. I don't care to tell everyone who did this, but like you guys need to find the time to go and apologize to the homeowners and like properly explain the situation, because I still don't even have a real understanding of this whole thing. They walked away. I got the rock back. With the rock were these two handwritten notes that were left for Lauren and Bud that I don't know how Lauren feels about it, but I read them and they were pathetic, is how I would put it. It's like if your 8-year-old kid did something dumb at school, it's like the way they would write a note to apologize to the principal or something. It's like, hi, I'm very sorry for my actions. I did not mean to do this. Blah, 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 blah. I will not do this again. Please don't implicate Ethan in this. He had nothing to do with this. Bye. It was like, I was like, I know you guys, like, you're like fucking 24 years old. Like, we're not children. You can't just run away to the desert all the time whenever there's a problem going on. Like, it doesn't take much to like show up and like right your wrongs a little bit.
And how did you like feel about it all?
It was kind of back and forth between this is really funny and this weird part of climbing culture, but also being kind of like, dude, you broke into my house? Nobody got hurt, right? Nobody went to jail. On one hand, there's like this 70-pound piece of rock. It's not Mideast peace we're talking about here. It's not worth losing friends over or potentially getting arrested or even rage baiting on the internet. We can say that this kind of doesn't matter, but for some reason, enough people had connections to this that it kind of did matter, right? Like enough people had imbued some real meaning in this whole thing.
Ethan and were able to connect and work through what had happened and about how it had all spiraled.
I think it's valid for me to react the way I did to an extent, given how stressed out I was and how much I felt like it could have implicated me. But I'm not going to hold a singular action against the person for the rest of their life. And I'm not going to hate them over a silly mistake. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people forget these days. It's like forgiveness is like really key for being able to come together. And forgiveness doesn't necessarily look like you messed up. I'm not going to like hold you accountable for that at all. And we're just going to move on and not confront the issue. Like that's not it. But it's also not like, okay, I'm going to like hold you to this forever and ever. It's like, how do we create a space in which like we can both understand each other and then like learn and grow from this? Like, hopefully they see what a shit show it's been and like it's been chaotic and like learn something from this. And the whole thing's been really interesting though. I feel like I've been able to learn like quite a bit from this.
What do you think you've learned?
I think there's just like a lot of young kids like me that like life's hard and like the world is a crazy place right now and it's kind of scary and like I mean, even for myself, it's like a lot easier to like run away from it and just like go climbing in the desert with your friends and work only when you need to and it's like just get by on what you do. And within that scene, there's a lot of spare time and there's a lot of time sitting around the campfire thinking of stupid things that then eventually snowball into like something crazy. So I think the whole thing for me has been like a bit of a point of reflection of like where the youth are at these days. it's shown me a lot about how climbers feel like they hold possession over nature and like our relationship to it in a lot of ways. Like when this first happened, a lot of people back home were like very upset. They're like, this rock like belongs to the Squamish climbers. I think especially too for like my past journey in climbing over the past few years, I've like in basic terms trying to like shift my mindset from like conquering these really big projects and like getting them done and moving on, and instead trying to like connect with them in some other way, whether it be like learning something from them or learning something about myself through them, and trying to like respect them as like these things in the forest that are like bigger than us and not these things that we can like own and possess and like have pride in and possession. It's interesting to see how much people have cared about this whole situation and the way in which they care about it and why. And yeah, I think ultimately we've just all got to remember it's like it's just this rock in the woods. Like it's really not that serious.
Act 3. The repatriation of Portable. In mid-February, Ethan pulled out of Bishop and started to drive north with Portable safely tucked in the back of a Subaru. Friends back in Squamish were already debating potential solutions for making sure that Portable didn't just disappear again.
I definitely feel a little bit concerned, and a bunch of people back home feel concerned that like it could happen again like very quickly based off of how much attention this thing has gotten. I mean, people back home are like going through crazy solutions. They're like, maybe we sink like a 3/8 bolt into the bottom of it and chain it down to the forest, or like maybe we find a way to put a GPS tracker on it, or like ultimately we're just gonna have to trust each other that like no one's gonna do this again.
There was talk of a big ceremony and waiting to return Portable until that moment. But as Ethan crossed the border, he just felt this overwhelming urge to put the boulder back. He posted to Squamish Climbers Facebook group and texted some friends. He figured there would be a crowd.
And then I showed up and it was like just my one homie there, like no one else. I think everyone was at work. You know, I'd been like living in the desert in my car for 4 months without a schedule, not knowing what day it was. And I think it was like a Tuesday or some weekday. And it was like the middle of the day. I like got to the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, there's no one here. Like, oh yeah, like everyone's probably working and like doing something.
On the afternoon of February 17th, Ethan and his friend walked Portable back into the woods and placed it next to the Superfly boulder where it had sat for ages, where someone first picked it up decades ago and came up with a little silly idea that through time became a thing and then a rite of passage.
Bringing it back to the forest was definitely like metaphorically and literally like a weight off my shoulders in my car. Like not having it in there. I mean, there was some fun in it. Kind of felt like there was this return to balance in a way where I was like, okay, there's been all this chaos because the thing's been gone, and like upon return, hopefully it's, you know, it's the end of this. But I definitely had this like feeling in my stomach where I was like, I feel like this is temporary.
10 days later, Portable was gone. Ethan was in Colorado when he got the news, and this time there was no urge to be a detective. It's been almost 6 weeks since Portable went missing again. There was a lingering feeling amongst the locals that it probably was someone in town, a local climber, who was fed up with the focus and the attention paid to Portable. That's obviously all conjecture. Nobody really knows right now. And it could be a copycat, beating a joke to death. But it does feel a little closer to the truth that the game of Portable, after all these years, has just run its course.
I would honestly be more surprised if it showed up again. I have a feeling it could be like just gone for good because of the fact that like people don't have trust in the fact that you can't just like show up to this problem in the woods and like enjoy it for what it is, where it is. It has to be somewhat commodified and like, you know, made into this thing on social media and immortalized for like the fame of it rather than, you know, how cool it is that this thing is there, and like the Squamish climbing community has turned it from this random rock in the forest to this like thing that we all share and love. And yeah, I don't know, it's this weird thing, but I have a feeling it's probably just gone.
Like, I'm kind of curious, like on one hand we're talking about a rock, but on the other hand we're talking about like a community, how we care for things, how that community interacts with the internet, like all these like crazy things. does it make you wish for 3 years ago or 20 years ago or some other period of time? Or like how, you know, it's like an interesting thing.
Yeah, like I doubt this would have happened 20 years ago, you know? Like the rock was sitting there and just fine until now. And I think I've more so just been questioning like what changed to lead us here to where we interact with these things on this level. If it wasn't for the internet, this would have just been someone taking this thing from a community to play a joke on the community. But you bring the internet into it and it becomes this even bigger thing, right? And it's like, it's not enough to just go and enjoy the problem for what it is. There's this social pressure to get your own video and post it online and be a part of this thing rather than simply enjoying it. You have to like interact with it in some greater way to like feel like it's good enough. Like you can't just go and sit with the rock in the woods now. You've got to do all this crazy stuff and shout at the top of your lungs like, hey, me and the rock are here together. I remember when Instagram was a thing and I was like, it had just come out and I was probably in elementary school or beginning high school. It was like a chronological timeline to share photos with your friends. And now it's like a weaponized algorithm to keep you on the app and steal your data and like sell you things and sell you ideologies and like keep you posting and engaged and like nothing is ever enough. And I think in some ways I can already see like the effects of these systems and things that we interact with in our daily life leaching into like our interactions with the natural world. We shouldn't be bitter about one incident and like put blame on a person per se. It's more like, okay, like why did this happen? And like maybe it's because of things going on in this generation. It's like, yeah, you know, like you can actually leave your phone in your pack or in your car for the day and just go rock climbing and like enjoy it. Like listen to the birds or the sound of a river below you or something. And I think it's just it's a good opportunity for people in the community to do like a lot of reflecting on where we are with climbing. All sports tend to be like reflections of where we are as a society and the systems that are ruling them. If we don't want shit like this to happen again, it's not just like, hey everybody, let's all like try and get along. It's like we've got to kind of try and change the way that we think about these things for like the sake of their preservation and what I think is at the core of why we go climbing and why we've been going rock climbing for so long. It's about movement and like enjoying the natural world, but can be hard sometimes. It's pretty easy to get upset about the little things. It's just being human, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of my little ramble on that.
Oh man, thank you to Ethan and Eric and our anonymous source, aka Molly, for sharing this story. Our stories come from friends and friends, and from you, our community. If you have a compelling idea for a guest or a story lead, please give us a shout. You can email us at editor@ducktapethandbeer.com. Thanks to the folks who have already become Diaries Plus members and to those that continue supporting. It is really the difference between our show being here and it not. Want another way to help? You can write us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps others find the show. Music today from Cineon, Dan Silver, Highline Scores, Brendan Burns, Marlon Gibbons, Sunshapes, and our very own Evan Phillips. This episode was written by the man, the myth, the legend, Fitz Cahal, with stellar audio mixing and design by Evan Phillips. Illustration by Walker Cahal. Becca Cahal is our executive producer. I'm Lauren Delana Miller, filling in on the credits for Fitz today, and you've been listening to the Dirtbag Diaries. Thanks for tuning in.